Yo, hey, how's it going? Welcome to the Star Bros podcast. How are you doing tonight, bro? I'm joined as always by my bro host, Jan Solo.
And I'm joined as always by my bro host, Ben Skywalker, who is feeling a little, energetic tonight.
Feeling alive. I don't know. I
Excellent.
was just trying to keep it real because you've mentioned a couple of times we're in our 30th, since our 30th episode, that we're like old men now. So I'm trying to rejuvenate our youth.
You know what they call that?
What?
That's a midlife crisis.
That is officially we are experiencing the midlife crisis of the Star Bros podcast.
This is the episode where we buy a convertible we can't afford.
Speaking of which, I showed you the lawnmower. That's probably the most convertible thing I can afford now.
That's really cool. We would have started recording about 10 minutes earlier if we were not talking lawnmower specs in the garage. And
referring to how I'm a lawn snob. Do you want to tell everyone apparently what happened once when we were walking around our campus?
Sure. So there was so I know that when you were a teenager you did some landscaping work as a summer job, I guess, or
it ended up being a summer job because I was still in high school. Yeah.
And we have this big courtyard where we work, and the hardworking guys came through in the summer and they cut it, and they had these, I thought they were like nice straight lines going through the lawn, which is something you appreciate when you have your own lawn and you start cutting it yourself.
Yeah.
And I pointed it out to you and I said, doesn't that look good? And you kind of went, meh.
Meh.
Good, not great.
I guess. They've got lines, I guess.
They had lines, and so they weren't up to your standard.
They weren't.
And I guess you just have really high standards for lawn care.
It comes all the way back from my first job that I ever had as a landscaper. So
Was that your first job ever of any kind?
It was the first time when I got a W-2. So yes.
Okay. Well, what did you do unpaid?
Unpaid?
Or off the books, I should say.
I did roofs.
Oh, okay.
There was a guy at my church that did roofs.
Okay.
And he brought me along on a few jobs. And let's just say the last time I did something with him, he had like a whole area of he had acres and acres of land where he would cut down the trees for like a Christmas tree farm.
A Christmas tree farm.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
And I would go up and help trim the trees every summer so that we could get them kind of ready to go for, when the season came.
Yeah.
And one year I went and he paid me pretty well. And the next year I went and he told me he paid me the most out of everyone that went. And I got like $50 for 3 days of hard work.
Huh.
And I went, that's the last time I take a job.
That doesn't seem legal.
I guess that's what happens when you don't have a W-2.
Yeah.
And you don't get paid minimum wage.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, let's move on from that. But then again, maybe I shouldn't have been employed. I was like 14.
Yeah.
So,
but you can work in Pennsylvania at 14.
Can you?
Yep.
I was gonna say, what age is it anymore that you're allowed to work?
I think 14 is the youngest. Yeah, a friend of mine got a job at Toys R Us when he turned 14, and he said one of the things that they made him do was
14-year-old.
They made him clip this walkie-talkie thing to his belt, and he had this earpiece, and what it was the store's phone. So if you called Toys R Us, then one of the associates wearing one of these like walkie-talkie things could answer it remotely, like while they were stocking shelves or in the warehouse or whatever.
Oh, really?
And the phone would ring, and they're like, "Yeah, your job, like answer the phone within 2 rings or whatever."
Okay.
And nobody explained to him that you're supposed to say, like, "Thank you for calling Toys R Us. This is so and so speaking."
Did you just answer the phone and go hello?
So he would pick it up and he'd go, "Hello?" This like, and people would go, "Is this Toys R Us?" And he would go, "Yeah."
Are your parents there? Oh my gosh.
So I mean, these are the things that somebody's got to tell you, or you figure them out the hard way.
Yeah. I mean, you got to figure that out somehow. I guess that's true. Jeez.
I guess. Yeah, I wanted to tell you about something that I saw when I came over, because we are recording again in your wonderful office / what did you call this? Your nerd den?
I know I called this my hobby room or something like that.
Okay. So
because it's full of all
called
my
it
hobbies.
a nerd den, I guess.
You can refer to it as nerd den or whatever you want, because sometimes I do refer to it as my nerd den. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
On the way over, I was driving past a little shopping center, and there was a guy who came out of a shop. I was sitting at the red light. There's a guy who came out of a shop, and he seemed to be getting into a verbal altercation with a man on a motorcycle outside the shop. And they were yelling back and forth at each other. But what was weird about it was that the guy who came out of the shop and was yelling at the guy on the motorcycle was brushing his teeth.
What?
So he was like, I couldn't tell what they were saying. So he would like gesture wildly, and like I imagine it was something like, you know, I'm angry at you, and then he would stop and he'd be like,
Like he's shaking his toothbrush at him. It's like, oh, that's disgusting.
yeah, I don't, and I'm like, what were did you start brushing your teeth inside, and then you were mad at the motorcycle guy, and you came out? That's one of those things where your imagination runs wild. So
That is so weird.
really weird.
People are weird.
People are weird, but I appreciate the dedication to oral hygiene because that's important.
That is very way to find the positive silver lining. In
What would have been
everything.
great is if this guy was like brushing his teeth and taking care of them, and then the motorcycle guy would have just punched his teeth out.
I just cleaned those.
Right?
Thanks a lot.
Come on, man! I just flossed.
Jeez, Randy, what are you doing?
Total Randy move.
Hey, do you want to talk Star Wars?
We should talk Star Wars, but the moral of that
thinking.
story is brush your teeth. Don't get into fights.
Just don't do it.
Just don't yell at anybody. Don't start stuff.
Especially if
brush
they're
your
just
teeth.
brushing their teeth. Leave them alone, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
No, this is a Star Wars podcast at the end of the day, so maybe we should.
is.
We should. I think we have some fun stuff to talk about tonight.
We do.
Because some really cool stuff came out for all of us to enjoy, all Star Wars fans to enjoy, right?
Yes.
And I guess not all of them love things equally, so there is that. But we're not going to talk about that because we are excited about Visions.
Yes.
We watched it. It's our first foray into anime, and I don't know if I would say after watching this and I'm going to go watch a ton of anime now, but I would say like I have a greater respect for it, and I just love the style, and I appreciate the storytelling mechanism more now. So I don't know. We will get into that though and more.
We will.
In just a few minutes.
Okay.
But first, let's get to our first segment, news from across the galaxy. So you had to throw that one in there.
Yep.
There was some. I was surprised. I thought Visions was like the only news this week. Turns out there's more, like lots more. So first bit of news that was very exciting: the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
We have a release date.
We do. And up until now, we had just heard that it was going to be the end of the year or December.
They squeezed it in there, didn't they?
They sure did. Down to the wire. I was sure that it would be before Christmas. For some reason, I just had that in my head the whole time.
Same.
But it is December 29th.
Hey, it's close enough to where we can say that Star Wars is giving us a Christmas present,
Yes.
which it has done every year except for last year. We'll call the Life Day special a Christmas present.
Yeah, and last year I feel like didn't Mandalorian season 2 end like right before Christmas?
It was probably right around that time, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it started in like October. Yeah, it was right around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was quite the Christmas present to get Luke to come back. So we'll give him that. That's what we will give Lucasfilm this time.
Yep.
But yeah, some very exciting stuff.
Poster looks great.
Yeah, exactly. Looks kind of, it's just Boba Fett, but it's very dark looking.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because on Twitter I saw a lot of people taking the image and lightening it
Oh, really?
and just making it a little bit brighter so you
Why?
can see
To try
more.
to find some stuff?
I guess. Not that there's anything hidden in there, I wouldn't assume, but they were trying, I guess, to brighten it up a little bit so you can take in more of the detail of the chair and things like that, or the throne, I should say. But I think it's purposely meant to be a little bit dark and a little bit brooding and a little bit dramatic. And, Star Wars fans, they just pick it apart.
They just find every little detail that they can. So, yeah, that's something to look forward to. I mean, I thought it would look cool. Just to me, it's a signal that it's Boba Fett. Expect something a little bit darker,
Yeah.
right? Like this is your anti-hero.
Right. It's not going to be like this cute, funny thing.
No.
And by the way, if you haven't already, we have an episode, maybe 3 or 4 episodes ago at this point.
Wait. How does my cute little thing translate to something that you're about to say? I really need to know.
It doesn't have anything to do with that, actually.
Okay.
It has to do that we did a bunch of speculation trying to figure out what the heck this show is going to be about. And
yeah.
one of the things that we were speculating was that it was going to be kind of a revenge show where this anti-hero goes around and has kind of a hit list of all the people in his book who crossed him
blacklist.
at some point.
Yeah.
So It does sound like a little bit dark and a little bit heavy, and so the poster matches that, I
Yeah.
think.
I'm hoping for something a little bit like that. I think that'll be just a different pace.
Yeah.
And it's something that, I mean, might be appropriate for like Disney Plus, something
Yeah.
that's more of a TV show. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
And I'm wondering if it's coming out that late, are they going to do a Visions and give us all the episodes? Is it going to be a weekly series?
No, they're going to milk it. I mean,
I think so too.
that's kind of honestly, that's the way to do it. I never understood why Netflix did the whole just drop it all at once thing, because people binge it in 2 days and they cancel. That doesn't
Right.
make sense. Like Disney Plus has figured out the strategy of, they haven't been perfect at it, but have something that releases once a week so that people say, I mean, like Marvel basically has done that, where we've barely gone a few weeks without a Marvel episode this whole entire year.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to have a little bit of a gap coming up, but the same thing goes for Star Wars. There's more of a gap between the Star Wars stuff, but there's still something for like the Marvel fan and the Star Wars fan, if you like all that stuff, to keep, interested in it.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to keep seeing that timeline followed.
I think so too, but I think there's always going to be a place too for binging. I mean, Visions was a little bit different because the episodes were so short.
Oh, I'm so glad they did that. Could
Yeah.
you imagine if they just like did, here's 9 minutes of something.
Right. See you in a week.
Yeah. See you next week. Right. Well, actually, I think the shortest was probably 13 minutes, but still.
Yeah. But no, I always think back to like there is like something psychologically where people just want to binge, and people lose whole days of their lives watching these shows. And there was a guy a couple years ago in Canada who had Netflix in Canada.
Where?
Canada.
What?
It's where that sport that Chris Ryan's really likes is
Oh,
from.
yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a huge hockey fan.
Hockey. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a guy there who watched The Lord of the Rings, the Peter Jackson movies on repeat 24 hours a day for an entire year straight.
What?
And then I think Netflix literally reached out and they were like, "Are you good?
Are you alive? Are
You're
you
right, bro.
okay?
If you want to talk, we're here."
We can get you some help. Oh man, that's awesome.
Which makes me wonder what other types of interesting metrics do they have. But
Yeah,
this is a Star Wars podcast.
This is, yeah.
Let's not get carried away with that.
Yeah, that hockey stuff is for another time. What else happened in the news, Jan?
Well, we have a couple of shows that have wrapped, and we've been anticipating.
It's a what?
Huh?
It what?
That wrapped.
It's a what?
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. We now know that Andor has wrapped shooting, as has Obi-Wan Kenobi. The latter of which Ewan McGregor confirmed, I think, right after the Emmys. He was doing an interview and he said, "Yep, we're done. We're done the principal photography. We're done the shooting, and now it's in the hands of the editors." And so those things seem to be on track, and it's refreshing after a year where everything seemed to get derailed.
Which for Andor, yeah, I mean, maybe we were speculating maybe that's why Andor took so long. But I think if I remember right, it's going to have a lot more episodes than Kenobi will. But
And
besides,
they built these massive outdoor sets that
Yeah.
some pictures have been. There's been leaks. We've seen some of the street scenes and some of the aerial shots of towns and things like that. I maybe they did the same for Kenobi, but I thought they were shooting Kenobi on that same
the volume,
What's it called?
the volume.
The volume?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that. But I thought they shot Kenobi in there, whereas it seems like Andor did a lot of practical effects and outdoor sets and things like that.
That's the sense that I got too. Yeah, but
Which is just more time consuming.
it's going to be more time consuming. Yeah, you have to build all of that. You have to move around. It's crazy. But and then the length of it too. If they're doing, I think 12 episodes or so for that.
Right.
But I think you mentioned like the pandemic may have had something to do with that too. Like a little bit of pause and start again and stuff. So because I remember it was like, wasn't it in the Disney Plus day last year where they were showing all the new shows that were going to come out, and they showed Andor and behind the scenes of him, training and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's been so long that it's been going on. But
Yeah, it feels like a really long time ago.
and then Kenobi, I feel like it just started.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's done. Really? Awesome. And it sounds like Ewan McGregor is trying to talk it up as like people are going to like it.
Yeah.
Which I'm not surprised. And of course he's going to say that.
Right.
But yeah, it's enough to keep getting the that adrenaline rush of this is going to be good. I cannot wait.
I'm excited.
So excited. A few other little pieces of news. A lot of stuff is going to be coming out. This is a great time to be a Star Wars fan. Have we said that before? I feel like we've said that before.
Yeah. I mean, we've been around for a couple of droughts in our lifetimes.
We have.
This is the opposite of that.
And it's crazy because we don't have a trilogy or movies coming out, but it is a great time to be a Star Wars fan. So we get the Halloween special this Friday. Actually, the day that you are probably listening to this or that this episode drops, that is when the Halloween special is coming out. So be sure to check that out on Disney Plus. I'm looking forward to that. We are going to dedicate a whole episode to that, not just to that, but to spooky stuff in Star Wars. Spoopy. It's
Too
time
spoopy
for our
for
Halloween
me.
episode. You should start that episode like that. So we'll be watching that. Can't wait to react to that. We got another drop of Galaxy of Sounds on Disney Plus.
Yeah, we were just watching a moment of that, and
Yeah.
I hadn't given it a go yet. But the gist of it is scenes from the Mandalorian, from the movies, etc., without any of the music, and it's just the sounds of the landscape, like waves crashing and the cars or the flying vehicles going around Coruscant, things like that. And it's good background. I was saying it's good background TV.
Yeah.
That people like you and I don't use as background TV. We just watch it really intently.
Yeah, exactly. What was that? I'm trying to remember now. The other one, the
Biomes?
Biomes. That's what it was. Like it feels a little bit like Biomes, but more focused on scenes that are actually in the movies.
Yeah.
But let's strip out the music for a second so you can appreciate the sound effects, like some of Ben Burt's stuff.
Yeah.
So that to me is what's really cool about it. I can't wait to just pop it on while I'm studying and yeah.
So
listen to
it's
that.
perfect for that. Yeah, and it
No.
looks like it's like 8 or 10 minute long episodes, so it's not hugely involved. But
Yeah.
like you just run it like a playlist in the background and you go about your day.
Yeah. Can't wait. I'm going to do that right after we stop recording, honestly.
And I
'Cause
was
have
just
some
saying,
homework.
like there should be like a shuffle functionality. Like you should be able to
I
make
agree.
you should be able to make a playlist on Disney Plus. Pick a bunch of things, like just put Biomes and then put what is this thing called?
This one's called Visions.
No, the other one.
Oh, the Sounds one, the Galaxy of Sounds.
Galaxy of Sounds. Like you should be able to pick those and then shuffle them and just play them in the background all day while you're studying or just working your life away or whatever it is you're spending your time doing.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect background TV.
I will let you know how that all goes after I'm done studying for the evening. I'll be like, that was so cool to do it with, or I was distracted the whole time. I got a 0 on my quiz.
You have to do a quiz tonight?
I have to do a quiz, but I can take it on unlimited times,
Okay.
which is a good thing.
Okay. Yep.
So
All right. I wish you luck.
thank you very much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome very
Accounting.
much.
Visions was the other news.
Yes.
Visions dropped.
Yes.
And that is our segue to our second segment, More to the Story.
More to the story.
You should do that one. I do the segment 1, you do the segment 2. Like
Okay.
you do that much better than I do.
Okay. Thank you.
I like that.
Very kind.
So, let us talk Visions.
Yes.
This thing drops, and honestly, I don't think I've heard a bad thing about it. I've heard it's not my cup of tea, or that wasn't my favorite episode, or whatever. But guess what? Every episode was not made for you. And we'll talk about that more in a second.
What?
I know.
What?
Crazy, right?
Oh, man.
So let's talk about that now, actually.
I'm literally shaking right now.
You sound like Randy every time you say that. No, we did a great interview, and I encourage everyone to go check it out with the Father and Son podcast. Father and Son, a Star Wars podcast, and Keith and Kerwin. Kerwin is the father, Keith is the son. We asked them a question: hey, what was your favorite episode? And they talked about it on their spoiler review, and Keith's favorite was the TOB1 episode, which, I mean, I think a lot of people I've talked to had that lower on that list, but guess what? I talk to adults, right? So to me, what Keith said that was so wise and so interesting was, this is an episode that was made for kids to relate to.
Yeah.
And it feels like that. The second time I watched it, I was like, I can definitely feel that this is not made for me.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it too, and I enjoyed it more after that conversation. And by the way, hello, Keith and Kerwin, if you guys are listening.
We'll keep it clean for you.
Yep, that was a highlight of my year, probably, just being able to talk with those guys and being able to talk Star Wars. And like I said in that episode, and this is a point about visions as well. I feel like thanks to Star Wars, somebody said to me once, you have friends out there who you haven't even met yet.
Yeah.
And I felt like that talking with Keith and Kerwin and thinking about visions. Like, it makes me think that there's a bunch of like anime Star Wars fans in Japan who, you know, we would hit it off with if we sat down and had a conversation about Star Wars, and we would just be fast friends. But going back to TOB1, so Keith had a bunch of gems in that conversation.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch. And that was one where it reframed my thinking about that episode, because it did seem like really kind of geared towards younger people, and that's not a bad thing at all, but it's something that made some Star Wars fans who are grown-ups overly critical about it. And I went back and I kind of watched it through a different lens, and it's actually one of my favorite ones now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because it didn't climb my list, because mostly because I just loved a lot of other episodes more.
Yeah, I mean, and the competition is pretty stiff because there's a lot of really good stuff. But I appreciated that. I think Keith's perspective on it took away some of like the pretentiousness that some people have of like Star Wars is supposed to be a certain thing. Mm-hmm. And if it's not that, and if it's not for a certain audience, then it's missing the mark. And I always think back to George Lucas has always said, these are kids' movies, these are kids' stories that have value for a lot of people that aren't kids, but don't make the argument that they're not for kids, because that's sort of the whole foundation of the thing.
Right.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun talking with those guys. I really, really, really enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah. Same here. I looked at that one a little bit differently this time, and I guess noticed a couple things that were really interesting. Like, there was a part where like they zoom in at the very end on Toby's eye as he's going to kill the Sith, and you can see the Jedi symbol in his eye.
Yes,
like that was really cool. But like just even the whole idea of like the kid is obsessed with becoming a Jedi to the point where he's not very obedient, and he's not very focused on the matter at hand that the professor is trying to teach him. And I mean, these are really short episodes, but like once the professor passes, or, you know, gets killed, basically
becomes one with the Force,
it changes to Obi-Wan, and he starts to appreciate the professor a bit more and what he tried to teach him. And by the end, when he does become a Jedi, he's maintained the mission of the professor, which is to bring life to the galaxy. And it kind of redefines, I think, what a Jedi is in a lot of, in my mind, of not, we talk about Jedi being peacemakers and being, you know, almost like I'll say a police force for lack of a better term, but, you know, trying to protect the galaxy and maintain the peace. And now you look at them through a different lens now, like bringing life to the galaxy.
Yeah, and that was the thing in that Jedi manual book.
Yeah.
Like, there are the Jedi who pick up a lightsaber and, you know, run headfirst into a battle, but then there's like the agricultural corps.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Right.
Like all these other jobs where it brings some value to a place, but it's not necessarily lightsaber fights. But so something I noticed more about that episode this time around was, you know, TOB1 is a sentient droid. I guess you can call him sentient.
Yeah.
Like a lot of droids that we meet in the Star Wars universe, but it felt very much like a Pinocchio type of story to me.
Yeah.
Of, here's this puppet who wants to be a real live boy, and you know, his maker is sort of like the Geppetto character, and the maker has created TOB1, and his ultimate goal is to bring life to things, and it becomes this this droid's goal to bring life to the galaxy in some way. And I don't know, I just thought that there was like a really nice cycle there of bringing to life, and what is life, and what is consciousness, and all that stuff. And that's kind of deep stuff for a Pinocchio type story, kids cartoon.
Definitely deep.
So lots of good layers to it. And the other thing that stood out to me about that one in particular is I think people slap the label of anime across a lot of different subgenres or substyles. Like visually, that was completely different from all of the other ones.
Yes.
And not only that, but there was a lot of like imagery in that I felt like was very kind of like dreamlike and like very out there.
Well, because it's a kid who's trying to live his dream.
Yeah.
Like that's why it felt that way. Another thing I noticed that was contributing to the dream state feel of it was, did you notice all the walls and the carvings on the walls, the intricate detail? They had X-wings, they had TIE fighters, they had AT-ATs. That's what I say is AT-ATs, by the way, not AT-ATs. Everyone's got theirs. That's mine. But but
Why
like,
are you supposed to say AT-AT?
no, it's just that's the whole. It's one of those running things in Star Wars. Like, is it AT-AT or AT-AT? And I say AT-AT. Everyone's different.
I just say run the other way.
And AT-AT's coming, run the other way. Oh man,
A couple rebels just arguing about what to call it.
he's like,
It's a killing
who
machine.
cares?
Run
It'll
for-
kill us.
Right,
Get
run for
out of
your life.
here. That's amazing. All right. But like just seeing those on the walls and the artistic nature of it, like that was more special to me this time, to see like those little touches like that. But let's talk about real quick. I want to talk about kind of the feel of Star Wars in all of these, because one of the things I picked up on was every single one tried to show in a very overt and sometimes less overt ways that it was influenced by Star Wars. And one of the examples is, did you notice how many times the phrase "I've got a bad feeling about this" was said in all these episodes?
Yeah.
Like, I think every episode said it once, with maybe two as an exception. Like, I didn't hear it in the duel, and I don't think I heard it in one of the end ones, the Akakiri one, I don't think. So, but it was everywhere.
Yeah, and it was really apparent to me because my first watch through, and now I want to go back and watch it again. My first watch through was I listened to the Japanese soundtrack with the Japanese voice actors. And so it really jumps out at you when it's in closed captioning. I've got a bad feeling about this. Just plastered across the screen. Like you can't miss it. Yeah, and I thought back to, it sounds to me like the folks at Disney really gave the people who created these a ton of creative freedom.
Oh yeah,
a ton. And
because and why wouldn't you do anything but that? Because these aren't technically meant to be canon, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that was kind of understood at the outset of like, you guys can do whatever you want. We've picked you. It's like that old Steve Jobs adage where Steve Jobs used to say, we don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people and have them tell us what we should do.
Yep.
And I think they did that with these guys. They said, hey, you have a budget and you have some time to create some Star Wars stuff, go. And so it's interesting to me what these different studios and creators picked to represent Star Wars, but that also a lot of them picked some of the same lines and some of the same things that just feel like signals of like, yep, we're in the know, and here's something that you might expect, and here it is. Just a little nod to the audience.
Yeah, that's that was something I appreciated. Yeah. I don't think any episode did it more though than the one that we're watching right now, the Twins.
Yep.
Like that one had so many Star Wars references, like the there is no try, only do, and I think they even said like the term "to a galaxy far, far away" at one point.
Yeah.
So and of course, I've got a bad feeling about this. Like there were so many ways that it was just like I think the term I read it somewhere else was unabashedly Star Wars.
Unabashedly.
It's like, I'm not even ashamed of this. Like, this is going to be so over the top Star Wars. And it really was. It was probably one of the more unrealistic ones too. Like where, who was it? Cause he had Am was the girl, and Kare, wasn't it? The guy. And he like ripped through the Star Destroyer with his lightsaber.
Yep.
Like way over the top.
Yeah.
But Still super cool.
That to me was like, so this is early on. This is what, episode 2 of the series.
3,
that,
yeah.
That to me was like, it went from like, so the contrast between this and the duel, which I'm sure we'll talk about, of that being black and white with just like, splashes of color here and there, to this like heavy duty action anime of just like so over the top.
Or even over the top lines. Because, by the way, this is the one where Neil Patrick Harris does the voice of Kare.
NPH.
And Alison Brie does the voice of Am.
Oh, really?
And I was listening
Brie
to Alison.
From Community.
What's that?
Alison Brie from Community.
Yeah, that's right.
Who plays little Annie Edison.
You said that last time we talked about this. Like
your brother Jerome loves Community.
My brother loves Community.
Hello, Jerome. Thank you for listening.
Jerome. He's gonna love that. Oh, that's what you call
Hello,
him
Jerome.
Hi, man. What's up, bro? So yeah, the Alison Brie.
What's his name?
Jacob.
Jacob.
Jerome's better. We'll go with that.
Just call him Jerome from here on out.
He'll love that. So Alison Brie does the voice of Am, and she had some crazy lines to give. Man. What was that one that everyone's been quoting? The do I need to remind you the purpose of your birth or something like that? Like she just screams it. Like she's very far removed from cute little Annie or from Community.
Yep, I got to listen to that. Because I feel like I'm missing out. But the Japanese voice acting was really good. Really just intense and emotional, and there was some screamy stuff in this one too. But and it's amazing, by the way, like the star power of the overall cast. Like they got everybody.
They did.
It's really, really impressive.
Yeah, and this was no exception. What was the other line that was like way over the top? I'll send you back to the dust.
Back to the dust.
And like Alison Brie just screams the word dust. She probably still doesn't have a voice.
Wow.
After screaming like out loud, she screamed it. But it was man, that one was so fun. Dan, our bro host Dan with him, the Broaxium group.
He went bananas over this one. He loved it.
He loved this one. And he was absolutely right by why he loved this one, which was, and this is one of the things like it definitely got right in terms of Star Wars. The idea that your destiny is not defined by your past, but by your current choices.
Yeah. And
that's what this teaches us is Am is feeling defined by the fact that she was born out of the dark side, and she's got like a 000 droid-esque, character that's over her shoulder, making sure she doesn't ever leave the dark side. And then you have Kare, who's chosen to leave and chosen to not be defined by the dark side, even though that's what created him. Very Rey-like,
Yeah.
So that was a great observation by Dan that I don't think I picked up on until he mentioned, but it is one of my favorite things now.
This is also the one where I think our bro host Chris Rhines was saying that this would be a really cool one to expand, because this is almost like an alternate Star Wars universe where there's a bunch of really interesting stuff going on here that would play out really nicely in a comic book or something like that. But again, these are just 13, 15-minute long episodes that pack a lot in. And probably half the time I'm going, what the heck am I watching? But then the other half of the time...
It's like an acid trip or something. You're like, what is this?
But yeah, and the other half of the time there's like a familiarity of like, okay, like there's recognizable stuff here. I just feel like, like when you have a dream and you go to your house, but it's not like your house in real life, but in your dream it's your house. It's almost like that weird experience of like, this is familiar, but it's new at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to. It's like familiar but new, and completely off the walls in some moments.
Completely, and this episode in particular, just with the colors and the intensity and the screaming and ripping a Star Destroyer in half with your lightsaber, because you put your ship into hyperdrive and you're hanging off of it with your lightsaber.
Did I ever tell you? That just reminds me. So
that reminds you of something?
Well,
is this a crazy lawn mowing story?
What's that?
Is it a crazy lawn mowing story?
No, it's not. No, when I was in college, my roommate and I, who ended up becoming my best man, great guy, he decided... What's that?
What's his name?
Will.
Yeah,
great guy.
Does he listen?
I don't know.
Not that great then, I guess.
Huh?
Not that great.
Not that great a friend, no.
Let's go,
You're
Will.
like, you're over here getting jealous. Like, he's not that great a friend, man.
Step it up, Will.
Come on, man. No, but so Will was, pretty adept at the computer. And so he learned, or he made it so that every time that I started my computer, a video clip would play. And the
Of
video
his
clip,
choosing. He set you up with something.
yes, exactly. And the video clip was of a character that most anime fans will know, Vegeta from
Yes.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
And it's an infamous clip now of Vegeta screaming, "It's over 9,000!"
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And it was a video that was probably a minute and a half of just repeating that over and over and over again. And so I turn on my computer and just hear, "It's over 9,000!" over and over. I finally learned how to disable it. It took me probably a day, but it was. He thought he was clever.
I love it.
Yeah, go Will. Anyway, no, that's kind of what this felt like. It's just like the over the top screaming.
By the way, did you used to watch that? Did you watch Dragon Ball?
A little bit.
Yeah, I was pretty into it, but I thought back to it this past week because that's one of my only references to anime that I have. Like,
Yeah,
I just
same.
it's not a world that I've been steeped in, and I have a new appreciation for it. I think after this, but I loved loved Dragon Ball when I was a kid.
Could you imagine like if Star Wars started out as an anime now? Like this is insane. Like
Oh my gosh.
how fun it is. Like
Yeah.
like again over the top. You have Am with 6 lightsabers.
Why not?
Like of course, let's just do it.
Why not?
And they like wrap you around each other's lightsabers. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the other episodes
Yes.
a little bit too. Here's one thing that I wanted to mention: Tatooine Rhapsody.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched this one the first time, and I'll admit, like maybe it was just following the duel. I wasn't as excited about.
So can I stop you there for 1 second,
No,
please?
sure.
Thank you.
How dare you?
What do you think about the order of the episodes? To me, it's like, all right, well, somebody curated this list and they said,
Yeah.
okay, let's open with the duel, which is very kind of like dark and brooding and dramatic. And then let's go to Tatooine Rhapsody. Like how did they pick? And it just, because I was watching the last one today and I was like, is this the finale?
Yeah, it's
Like,
kind
is
of a
this-
random one to end on. But then again, would any of them been a good one to end on?
Right.
None of them.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. So I wonder how they picked it because they must know, one, that a lot of us sat down and tried to watch as many of them as we could at once. And so there must be some kind of flow to it or something. But the one thing that I'm sure of is that there's not an overarching story.
Yeah.
And there's not meant to be something that you piece together because you've watched them in that order.
Right.
But like, I still kind of wonder, like, hey, how'd you pick that? Like in a museum, like, why is this painting next to that one? Like somebody made that choice.
Someone did. Right.
But maybe it was just like, nobody cares, so just throw them up there.
Was this just bingo balls? Were they just
Right.
completely random? I don't know, but there didn't really seem to be a rhyme or reason to them.
But what I think one of the things that led to, and again, it's like, look, different studios made these, and so there's different vibes to them.
Sure.
It felt like it was shifting gears pretty hard sometimes. It was like, what the heck did I just watch? Oh, what the heck am I watching now? Like, like it was just really kind of, it was an experience. It was genuinely a unique experience. But we're talking about Tatooine Rhapsody. Right now we've got the television on and a Star Destroyer is being sawed in half with a lightsaber. And this is peak anime action right here. This is power levels over 10,000.
This is over 9,000 right now.
Way over 9,000.
Way over 9,000. Vegeta would be either really upset or scared right now, or very proud. One or the other. No, stop distracting from Tatooine Rhapsody, man. Come on. No, but this is one where I watched the first time and I went, okay, yeah, that was fine. Again, maybe the high of the duel was kind of bringing it down, but I would also say like there was a lot that I liked about it. I didn't appreciate it as much though the first time around until I started hearing how other people appreciate it, and then I watched it and it was like, wait a minute, this is now one of my favorites. Like I just love the introducing punk rock first of all into Star Wars, which was really cool, and I'm a big punk rock fan. We've talked about like Linkin Park isn't punk rock, but like my latest listening habits while I'm mowing the lawn is Linkin Park. But no, I like listening to like the punk rock within Star Wars was really cool. That was
Yeah.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, by the way.
Oh, okay. So I saw his name on the list and I was wondering where he ended up. Is he like the singer of
He's
that
the
band?
singer. He's Jay.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
But even because I guess the idea of that episode was Jay. Was he on the run because of Order 66?
I didn't know if I missed that or what it was. I wasn't able to piece it together.
I was maybe guessing it could have been Order 66, which would
Yeah.
match with the timeline because then right after that they're on Tatooine with Jabba.
Right.
Right. So it kind of makes sense that he could be just like a rogue Jedi that's gone. And then Boba Fett obviously in there. And so it can't be sometime during the Clone Wars because Boba Fett would have been around, you know?
Right.
So my guess is Order 66. Was my
Makes
guess.
sense.
But anyway, like, so he's basically had to become like put away the Jedi or else he'll die. And then he runs into a hut that has completely deserted himself from other huts in Jabba. And that's why Jabba's got a bounty on him.
Was that guy wearing sunglasses, by the way?
I don't know, but didn't he have a piercing?
He had
Like
a
nose
piercing.
piercing?
He was like he was living the punk rock lifestyle.
He totally was. And that's what made it so cool to me at the end. It was like these two different guys that are castaways
Yeah.
from their lives before that
Yep.
decide to get together and do a punk rock band and live their passion, live their dream.
Yeah.
So I loved that.
That's a pretty good band origin story.
Yeah. Or even just like, I guess the way I thought about that was like taking something completely out of left field in Star Wars. And I like, did the animators just look and say, the Max Rebo band, how did they get their start?
Right.
Let's explore that story.
There's got to be other bands out there. Like,
yeah.
There's got to be a music scene on Tatooine.
Yeah.
One of the things that
Or on
people
the solo barge.
Right. One of the things that people really loved about that episode was that it had real clear connections to the Star Wars that we do know. Like Jabba's in it, Boba Fett is in it. So people liked being able to connect back to that because some of the stuff, like right now, The Village Bride is on, and that doesn't have a lot of stuff that you can sort of grasp onto and go, oh yeah, my favorite characters, and I can place it during Order 66 or whatever it might be.
Right.
The contrast is huge in that this one is just really out there.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe this was just me, but I lost it when I saw Jabba tapping his tail.
Yeah.
Right. Or I think at one point Boba Fett was like nodding his head like, yeah, this is kind of cool. This is catchy.
Right. Because they were about to wipe them out.
They were.
And he was like, yeah, this is catchy.
Yeah.
Let's not kill them all.
Let's not. And like Jay just screaming at Jabba like, hey, Jabba, you want to be our manager? This is basically what
You've got guts, kid.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know. My tail taps. I liked you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was fun. So that was a much more fun episode and climbed my list afterwards. Where do you want to go?
Let's talk about the duel. Let's talk about the opening episode that I think knocked a lot of people's socks off because it was just very striking visually.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you now.
Yeah.
My bad.
Okay.
We were talking about bingo balls maybe. I think that one was deliberately chosen first
I think so too.
for a lot of reasons. One, because there's a book coming out very soon about it.
Yep.
And
In
second-
October.
In October. And second, it was just that good.
It was really good.
Yeah.
And it was a really good way to give people momentum to say, all right, I'm going to be glued to my Disney Plus account for the next day as I work through these.
Yeah.
But very striking visually. It was, I was struggling to find the right words for it because typically black and white feels minimalistic, but it felt very busy. A lot of the visuals felt the animation felt very busy. The splashes of color, the nod back to me, this was like, all right, we're back at the roots of George Lucas's creativity and imagination when he thought back to all the Akira Kurosawa movies that he loved, watching samurais face off in these feudal villages and all that exciting stuff. It's like that they went back to that point in George Lucas's sparked imagination and started to drop droids and lightsabers and kyber crystals and Sith and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera into that setting.
That was another thing. Kyber crystals was a
Kyber
plot
crystals
point a lot.
a really big deal in this.
Oh yeah, they like them.
A really big deal. And you know, another one of the themes that, you know, we can talk about at some point. And I don't know if this is an anime thing, so I think some people are going to have to educate us on this.
We should have started out at the top of the show to make sure people know, like, we're those that we don't understand, like, the complete origins of anime and the influences of anime to say,
Right.
like, this is what this is trying to do and where it got its inspiration from. We're really just loving what we got.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of like happy tourists going
Yeah.
through this land.
That's cool. What statue?
Where was I going with that?
Sorry.
That's okay. It's all right. I will find my way back. I always do.
Well, we talked about kyber crystals, and that's where I interrupted you.
Oh, yes. Thank you. So I was trying to figure. I don't know if this is an anime thing, and maybe one of you wise and experienced folks can educate us. But there's this whole theme of like of discovery, of things lost and things found again. Things lost, like oh, you know, we haven't seen a Sith in a long time, but maybe they're out there somewhere, like in the episode with the Elder, and then they come across this guy, and you know, maybe he was something like an offshoot of the Sith.
Yeah.
Or the discovery of you know, somebody being a Jedi, and oh, we didn't know that they had those anymore, and you know, here they all are, and you know, they've been summoned to this asteroid, and we're all together. So to me, it was like one of the pervasive themes was things aren't always what they appear, and something under the surface can actually be monumentally important. Like this one guy just walking through town in the duel, you know, opens up his coat and he's got, you know, 10 kyber crystals hanging in there.
What was that about? Because that was the coolest thing to me, was to see him open it up, put one in there, and then be like, you know what, here you go. Wards off bad luck.
Yeah, you know what that was, I think?
What?
I think that was his prize, or his trophy, his hunting trophy. So as he went around and eliminated his enemies, I think typically the Sith guys, but he's not entirely a good guy.
I was going to say that I don't think he's eliminating his enemies necessarily. I think he doesn't mean harm to innocent people.
I think that's true.
I think that's like obvious by the fact that he came into the village and protected it. But you notice, like, he didn't intervene right away.
Nope.
He really didn't intervene until I don't remember her name. Was it what? The bandit leader.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't remember her name either.
Lucy Liu voiced her.
Okay,
but once she showed up, I think he was like, "Yeah, I should probably get involved."
Right.
Yeah.
But even then, it was sort of like the pace of it, and that to me too is like an anime thing of like explosions everywhere and just chaos, and then, you know, walking thoughtfully through the smoke, and reaching for the saber.
I need you to fix my droid before this pot boils.
Right.
Right. That was so cool.
That was so cool. That was a total like action movie type moment of just a really great way to build tension.
Yeah.
But I think that's the first time we see a lightsaber that has a sheath. Like normally lightsabers are just the hilt hanging from a belt or whatever, but this was unsheathed in like true like samurai katana style, which is really cool.
Yep. That one was exciting. And but then getting back to like the Ronin, right? His name, the one who's collecting kyber crystals. I think he's partially in this for power. And the kyber crystals that he's collecting is a proof of that power. Maybe way to think about this, for I know you and Chris will really like this, is like belt titles. Almost like I'm kind of building my way up to you know, get the top one, or
the undisputed lineal champion of the Sith showdowns or something.
Yeah, it's like, and then once if you were to ever get destroyed, they get all his kyber crystals.
They get all the kyber crystals. Yeah.
You know, maybe it's something like that.
It could be.
Did I get that analogy right?
I think that's spot on. But
okay.
One other question for you. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but it seemed to me like a lot of things were computer generated. And then, so over visions overall. And I think the duel was one that kind of like threw me off. I kept asking myself, like, I think that this is computer animated, but then there are certain things where I thought, Maybe they did some of this by hand too. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I got that feeling too. So I wanted to watch them before this, and I didn't get the chance to. But there are some really good behind the scenes.
Oh, I gotta watch that.
videos. So that'll be on my to watch list here in a little.
Hang on,
bit.
where is that? Is that on Disney Plus?
That's on the extras. Yeah.
Ooh,
And
okay.
so
I
you
gotta
can
watch that.
those pretty quick. So apparently they're really good. So we might be able to learn a little bit more about the styles and then
Yep.
how they were created, if they were using more drawings or animation or computer generated. Who knows? Like,
By the way, do you remember on Amazon they had that series Our Man in Japan
yeah,
with James May?
yeah.
Do you remember when he went to anime school?
I think I missed that. Oh no, I remember that one. Yeah.
So they have this whole school for creative people who want to work in this industry, and you can become a visual artist or you can do the sound or whatever. And he wanted to do voiceover work, and they made him be the dog because that was the only thing that he could do.
Woof. Yeah. I remember that.
He just apologized the whole time.
Yeah. What was that? How do you say that again?
Sumimasen.
Sumimasen. That's right. Okay.
Which, when I was listening in the Japanese, I actually heard that.
You're like,
I think
oh.
in this episode, I think in The Village Bride, somebody apologizes.
Okay. Well, very nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're on the Village Bride for everybody who's following along at home. So the Duel is probably one of my favorites, and we'll get through our actual list here in a little bit. I do want to ask you a question. I know we're jumping around to a lot of these episodes, and before we keep doing some of that, I do want to ask you, maybe we can go through a few of them. Are there certain ones where you want to see them continue the story, and then what are the ones where you're like, I'm good, that was it, I think that was all we needed for that? Like, I'm really curious your take on that. So maybe I can give you one to start, like we can go through them, like the Duel.
Yeah. The Duel,
I mean, the story will continue. We know that.
the story will continue, and I'm excited about that. I don't know yet which way it's going to go in terms of, I don't have a clear answer on, is the book coming out in October? Is it a novelization or is it a manga?
I think it's a novelization.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to get it and read it either way, but
Yeah.
I think I would have been more excited, if that's okay to say. I think I would have been more excited with a manga, just to see more of that artwork,
Yeah,
that black
no,
and
I
white
agree.
with splashes of color, and I'll be picturing that when I'm reading it. But I thought that was cool. I think he's a cool character. I think that they gave him an appropriate amount of mystery to draw people and make them curious. But here's an example of one that I would love to know more, but I also kind of want them to keep a lid on it. Like, I don't want them to go any further with it. And that's The Elder.
Okay.
Like, I love how little of a clearly bigger story they give you. Like, what's the background of the villain there?
Mm-hmm.
And where are the heroes going next and all that stuff. But I think it's kind of cool. I think it works as like a really short, like a short story, like a vignette where they won't give you anything else and people can kind of go where they want to go with it in their imaginations.
Yeah.
That's one where it's like, oh gosh, there's something else going on there, but I don't need an answer to feel satisfied with that story.
Yeah. I agree with that one. It could keep going and I'd be interested if it does, but I'm
Yeah.
also like, okay, I'm okay if it doesn't.
Yep.
That one's an interesting one because that, believe it or not, that one's a very high on a lot of people's list, and it's not on my list. And it's not because it's not good. I loved all of these ones. Maybe the only reason was just because I liked a bunch of them more. But there's a great lesson in that one.
In The Elder?
In The Elder.
Oh, there's a few at the end there.
Oh, at the end especially, but about power. Which one were you thinking? Because I was thinking about the one about power.
Where the Jedi Master says to his Padawan, well, they have a lead up conversation about the Elder, who was the foe in the situation they struck him down.
Yep.
And the Jedi Master says something to the effect of, time has caught up with him.
Yep.
And, I'm glad that I didn't run into him in his youth and in his prime because he must have been really powerful. And then the Jedi Master admits that, like, I'm getting less powerful.
Yep.
And you are becoming more powerful, Padawan. You are the future. And he says something to him like, don't forget your training and your kindness.
Yeah, the kindness, which is funny that that's what he said, because as I was going back through and watching at the beginning, I was thinking about their relationship. And I love this is what I did love about it, the Master and Padawan relationship, and diving into that more. It felt very much like watching Qui-Gon and Obi
Yeah.
in Phantom Menace.
Yep.
So, or any of the times we see that relationship. But it's David Harbour, by the way, who plays Tajin, I think is his name.
So this one I actually listened to in English, and I realized like, oh my gosh, that's David, because I really like Stranger Things. I thought he
Yeah.
was really good on that. And he's definitely got a distinctive voice.
Yeah.
So yeah, he did a great job.
And because this one doesn't have as much music in parts, like you can just hear their voice the whole time.
Yeah.
And that one was cool because it felt like while they were in space, there wasn't music going on. There wasn't any other sound effects. It felt like they were in space.
Yeah.
Really did. So that was cool. But like his demeanor, his dynamic, like he was very wise, patient. He really kind of embodied a true Jedi. And then his Padawan Dan, he was more of the seeking adventure, quick to act before thinking, wanting to prove himself, wanting to find the action, get to the fight, but also very kind.
Yeah.
And you do see that very early on. But he definitely has a little bit of growing up to do.
Oh yeah. A little bit reckless, a little bit like, let me find a good reason to run into the mountains, even though we know that there's something dangerous up there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you kind of hit on the lesson that I really liked. But the line that Tajin said that I really liked was, well, he talked about, he says, no matter how powerful you become, no, it will not last forever. That was alluding to the point about
that's
the
a good
elder
lesson.
aging. But then later he goes, with power, you can protect those without it. And that is eye-opening in terms of a lesson for what a Jedi is, because the Elder wanted power so that he could just be more powerful, so he could use it against others and prove he was powerful, right? And cause harm. Whereas the lesson Tajin is saying is like, power is a great thing. We kind of treat it like it's bad, but his point is, no, it's great. It's about how you use it. You need to use it to protect those that don't have it.
Yeah.
And what a valuable lesson for what the Jedi are supposed to be.
I love that. And just think, they packed all this into like 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. And just to think, it's not even near the top of my list. So what else could be?
Yeah. I that one was definitely near the top of my list. That might be like top 2 for me. But there was also a couple other visual things that I thought they did really well in there. And that there's some really stylized visual wild stuff in this one, like the elder's eyes bugging out and just crazy stuff like that. But one of the things that they did in that episode that I loved was it's raining at the beginning of their battle. And when the Jedi Master draws his lightsaber, I always wondered what would happen. I guess it's like a cold rain and you can see steam coming off the lightsaber as the rain hits it. I just thought that was such a cool little detail that they, it's animation. They very deliberately decided to put that in there. And I just thought it looked really cool.
That I agree. When I saw that, I was like, what? It kind of felt like watching... remember when Force Awakens, the trailer came out, and it was like the first time that we saw the interactions with the landscape around them. So like you could see the glow of the lightsaber on Finn's face, and that's kind of what that reminded me of, to see the steam come off. It was like this is when we had that reaction of, Star Wars embracing its surroundings a bit more.
Yeah.
Right. That to me, or like when the X-Wing flew over the water and all the water kind of dispersed, like that kind of thing. So I agree that I love that. It's funny that we've talked about all these episodes and we still haven't talked about 2 of my favorites.
Yeah. What are those?
So I want to get to this one next. La Pinocho.
Yeah. I just watched that again at lunchtime today.
Really? What did you think of that the second time around?
I really loved some of the messaging about family and about family being something that you can kind of construct, and it's not something that you inherit and you're stuck with.
Yeah.
You can make somebody be family, and I liked a lot of that stuff. When I have to admit that I sort of like leaned back a little bit. I was like, ooh, I don't know. Like as soon as like a bunny rabbit character appeared,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know where this is going to go, and I don't know if I'm on board with this, but I thought it was pretty cool.
To me, what I liked about it was because
this is one of your favorite ones.
This is one of my favorites.
Okay, cool.
And part of it was because of the sisterhood.
Yeah,
and more specifically, like when she's so timid, she's so shy. Lop, talking about the bunny rabbit character, right? And she ends up being adopted by this family, and the father really isn't that nice to her, but she doesn't care. She's just so glad that that she has a family.
Yeah,
that she is creating this bond with the sister. And the interesting part that happens is like she ends up being caught in the middle of the true family rift
The rift, yeah.
that's happening, where they just don't see it the same way of how to deal with the empire, which that's one of those situations where it's really tough. We all watch Star Wars and we think that you should be on the side of the rebellion. They're the good guys. Isn't it obvious? But we talk about it all the time. Like, it really isn't that obvious if you're living in that moment.
No, most people would join the Empire.
Most people would say that's the easy road. That's apparently the popular road. That's the one that's less likely to get me killed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm gonna go that direction. And that's kind of the stance that Ocho takes.
Yeah.
Of if we follow the Empire, I don't love it, but at the same time, we will prosper. We're more likely to survive and to thrive.
It's calculated. It's practical.
It is.
It's what many people would do.
It is. And then you have the father who's more of that visionary, or more of that what's the word I'm looking for? Rebel.
Mm-hmm.
that says, no, this is not right, and I'm not going to stand by idly and watch this happen to my planet. I'm going to take a stand. And those are completely at odds against each other in this family. And Lop is like caught in the middle of it, where she's like, I'm kind of on his side, but I also get your side. Like, I just want my family. I just want my sister. That's all that matters to her.
Yeah.
And so that maybe that's why I loved it. This is that family tie-in, to see it like
I like
tear
that
them
too.
apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't have a happy ending.
No, and I thought it was like kind of a kick in the shins at the end when the droid is like, "Hey, let me show you a picture of your family from happier times."
And then she's like, "I don't want to see it."
And then the freaking credits start, and I'm just like, "What?"
That was a little bit later. But you're right. Like you're right. That was the visual it ended on, was like him blinking, and then it goes out, and you're like, "Well, okay."
Yeah.
So that's one of them. I hope that they keep and they continue.
Yeah.
Because I want to see what happens.
It still stings
Yes.
a little bit.
I feel like a redemption arc is in store for Ocho.
Mm-hmm.
And Lop is involved in it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And even stuff like where the dad's like, "Well, I lost my other eye. Now I have no eyes." It's like, gosh,
This is getting dark.
How much can this poor family go through?
They go through a lot in about 20 minutes.
This is where like just like Netflix probably called that guy in Canada. Like, I feel like Disney Plus probably called this one anime studio, and they were like, "Are you guys good?
Are you okay?" Or if like somebody's watching this one over and over, like, what's going on in your life right now?
Do you want to talk?
You might need some help. Do you want to talk? This might be a good time to tell all of our Star Bros fans. If you've been keeping our podcast on repeat, let us know.
Yeah.
If you need to talk.
Yeah. Let us know. We're here.
Yeah, we're here for you. And we're glad that you're here.
Yes.
No, but anyway, I just, something about this just really hit home to me. It just hit me in the feels a little bit, and so I felt I just felt like I could almost relate to Lop in some ways, like just going through something like this and being caught in the middle, but being the only chance to keep this family together.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and so I guess not relate is the word I would use, but I feel for the position that she's in. It's a tough one, and so again, there's so much I could say that I loved about this one. So that one is near the top of my list.
Awesome. Okay. Great choice.
You pick where we go next. If it's an episode, or if it's a question or a theme, whatever you want.
Well, I'd love to know what else made your list of favorites or ones that you'd like to see expanded, whether it's you love the characters or the overall story or what.
The one that's on right now, The Ninth Jedi.
The Ninth Jedi. This one was really cool, and this one was great for a great plot twist and towards the middle or the end of it.
And I heard some feedback like, so for me, this one was interesting because I've talked about how I go to the CWK live on Monday nights, and I was surprised to see this one dispersed on everybody's list. Like, it was 5, then for some people it was 4, for some people it was 3, it was 2, it was 1. Like, everyone had a different reaction to it. There's no, and that was the same across the board, but there were definitely some that you could sense more of a consensus.
Yeah.
And I think with this one, the twist was what everyone loved.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved those. but it definitely it packs a ton into just 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And it can be tough to keep up with, but I don't know, like the story and the idea of this being like 200 years in the future, and the Jedi are gone and there's no one to protect the galaxy, and you're like, what happened? And the Sith are starting to come back and the Jedi are dispersed, like,
And here they are, all saberless, waiting for them.
yeah,
waiting for the sabers to be
lightsabers are gone.
Yep.
What's up with that?
That I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
And the way that they're kind of fishing for kyber crystals from the sky
Yes.
is just so peculiar and just so cool. Just
Yes.
such a cool concept.
Oh, loved that.
This reminded me of like the Studio Ghibli stuff. Are you familiar with any of that?
No.
And I probably sound like a moron because I genuinely don't know either.
You're like, I'm bringing it up and I don't know what I'm talking about.
But what I do know about it is my one cousin is really, really into that studio, and they make some really interesting anime stuff. And she's got like full sleeve tattoos up and down her arms of the different characters and of the different visuals from those movies. So
okay.
that's how I know that stuff. But
Okay.
visually, like, it reminds me of that style. But
It's like my sister who's into K-pop, and I have no idea what it is. I've heard of it.
Korean pop music.
Yeah.
So the gym that I used to work out at, there was a girl there who loved it, and I got to know some like BTS songs and like Korean pop music because the trainer at the gym would let people pick stuff to put on and listen to. And every once in a while, like on a Thursday night, it'd be like 2 hours of Korean pop.
Interesting. Okay.
And those guys, I was in. This is an aside. I was.
We have some of those on these episodes, don't we?
I was in the UK right before the pandemic, and BTS, the K-pop group that's like the K-pop group, I think, sold out Wembley Stadium 2 nights in a row. That's 90,000 people.
That's a lot.
2 nights in a row.
Wow.
So a lot of people like K-pop.
Yeah.
Anyway. This is a Star Wars podcast.
This is, right? And we're talking anime on a Star Wars podcast.
Yep.
Look at us.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love this, by the way. Like right now we're looking at the visual of in the Ninth Jedi, the daughter, when she picks up a lightsaber, it doesn't glow completely, and it doesn't glow with a particular color. It's just sort of like gray and transparent. And so one of the things that I thought they did interestingly and kind of touched on in a couple different episodes is this idea of the color of the saber and the kyber crystal and all that stuff. Like that really came through in a way that maybe doesn't completely in the movies and some other media.
Let me just say real quick, for anybody that's like, that's not how kyber crystals work, just come on.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot in here. Punk rock doesn't exist in the galaxy.
Right. Suspend disbelief. Enjoy the ride.
Right. So I agree. Like, to me, that was such a cool storytelling mechanism.
Yeah.
To say, like, you know, because the Margrave Juro, which is the Jedi that's, where they're like, is he a Jedi or is he setting up a trap or what's going on? And that was what he decided to do to expose the Sith and expose those who were traitors amongst that group. Like, and it was so cool to have, like, to think like, oh, these are all the Jedi coming back together, and to find out, nope, these are all the Sith that are in hiding, and the Margrave has found this creative way to expose them.
Yep.
And then dispose of them.
Yeah.
Like, that was really cool. But even just the story of Kara in all this, I felt Luke's story come through with Kara.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Like, it felt like she's just been, you know, on the planet, living a quiet life, and kind of learning about the Force, but then is all of a sudden thrown into the action and has to fend for herself. And she does pretty well. That like lazy droid that's sipping on the oil or whatever he's doing, you know, at one point he's like sipping, he goes, nice moves. Like, like that just killed me. But referring to Kara, like she's pretty good at what she's doing.
I love this one. I love like the weirdness of some of this stuff, but you're right. Like, just like Luke, trouble kind of came and found her on her home planet.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that she had to go looking for necessarily, but some of that stuff, like those droids, like most of those droids were like out of commission, except that one that was sipping its motor oil or
Yeah,
whatever it
I
was.
was kind of like, what's up with that?
Yeah, it's just really peculiar, and that to me is like, okay, this is just some far out sci-fi anime,
Yeah,
and that's cool.
but I loved it.
I loved it. I loved it. This was one of my faves.
Yeah, this was my fave.
Overall, this was number one.
This was number one on my
Okay,
list. It totally was, but partly because of the mechanisms, the that they were using with the lightsaber colors, and even just like with Kara, that later on she found it changed the color to the color, that she was hoping it would. It turned yellow, I think, just like Rey and stuff. So like that was really cool. And then even just with the one at the end that was saying like being around all the dark side energy kind of took control of him.
Yeah.
And he had his lightsaber turned back to purple, I think is what it was, from red, to show that transition of like the influence going away. Just all of that was really cool. And then and again, the story was just great.
Very, very well done.
Next, what else we got?
What's an example of one that you could kind of let go of and you'd be fine?
I mean, I don't need to have Tatooine Rhapsody. That one was a good standalone. Just great story. You told it to me. Like, I don't need to see what their tour looks like.
Same here.
But I do need an album of their tour.
So, yeah, that would be cool. Live on Coruscant, Star Waver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was like, all right, I know this version of the Star Wars universe that they're in. I know Jabba, I know Boba Fett, and so on, and so I kind of know where the story goes. I thought that was kind of cool as a Tatooine Rhapsody. To me, was like, all right, this is a story that's tucked into the broader story that I know. Whereas some of these was like, I don't know this story at all. I don't know what's happening 200 years.
I need to know more. I'd say most of them were, I need to know more.
Yeah.
For the most part. Like, we haven't talked about Akakiri yet, which I would say was interesting. Like, I wasn't really into the beginning part of it, or like the whole adventures. They were like traveling and stuff. But gosh, at the end, it got really good, really fast.
It got really good. And that was one where I thought they had some interesting musical choices too.
Yeah, they did.
Like just wild percussion, like and almost like Indian classical music.
Yeah.
On top of the anime Star Wars cartoon. Like, it's just a mashup of like really interesting stuff.
You're exactly right, and I thought of that with the music, especially with the way it ended. It like ends on a very down note, but it's playing this like bongo music or something. I don't even know what kind of. Someone will correct me and say like that's what this is anyway. And I don't mean to be disrespectful if I was, by the way, because it was pretty great.
We just don't know.
Stuff. We just don't know.
Right.
But the thing that I really liked about it was how much it aligned with Anakin's story. Like, I got vibes of Anakin that whole time. Like, I want to save the one that I love.
Right.
And I'm not supposed to technically because I'm a Jedi and stuff. But, he decided to go to the dark side so that he could, learn the power to save her.
Yeah.
And the whole, like, she comes back to life and he's like, I did what I have to do. And he walks away with this crazy Sith woman. Like, that's, like that was gut wrenching.
Yeah.
So again, it was like a kind of a slow start trying to figure out what's going on. He's having these visions of basically him fulfilling his destiny. That was another thing that was interesting about it. That he was fighting the idea that his destiny was decided. And guess what? He fought it so much that he ended up embracing it. That was fascinating.
Yeah.
No better word for that.
Yeah, I just watched that one again today too. I watched the last couple today. But yeah, my mind keeps gravitating back to some of the earlier episodes. But overall, I really like some of the musical choices that they made throughout, especially in that one. I thought that one had the most unique musical choices. But kind of reflecting back on the overall run of these 9 episodes, it's interesting to me that they all have some element or some ingredient that is just quintessentially Star Wars, whether it is a visual like a lightsaber or like I thought in the Elder, it seemed like the Jedi Master's robes, the Padawan robes are just exactly what we see like in the prequels.
Yep.
It's like they had these visual cues that were very recognizable. In some cases it was the music, in some cases it was the dialogue, but it was never all of them all together at once.
Right.
It was just like you got a little bit embedded in something that was totally unique and very, very, I guess from an outsider's perspective, like very Japanese. And it got me thinking, like, is Star Wars very Western? Like, if I'm a Japanese kid growing up in Japan and I get to see Star Wars, does it feel like a very foreign Western movie?
Yeah.
I mean, it's Americans and British people in space, basically.
Right. Yeah.
And in some cases, there are British actors pretending they're Americans in space. But
Yeah, sometimes I'm just like, I just wanted the decision there. Just be like, okay, you're British, but today you're not.
right, right. Like when John Boyega went in and read his lines, where they were like, it's. I think what it's missing is a like a Midwestern TV news anchor accent. Can you do an American accent?
Right.
He probably walked out of there like, what?
Like, can I just be myself for a change?
You know what though? My theory with that is, I don't know if you know the comedian Eddie Izzard, but he did a routine years ago about how the Death Star is just like this giant ball in space floating around with evil British people in it.
Yeah. Is that the same one where the cantina?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
456 123 10.
So
Yeah.
you've seen this one.
It's on the bonus features for the Blu-ray special that they released a
right.
few years ago. Yeah.
Right, you were telling me that. That's right.
Yeah.
I think you might have actually played that for me, but so yeah, ever since I heard that, probably like 20 years ago at this point, I've had this image in my mind of like, yeah, you know, the Empire's like it's just a bunch of British people floating around in space.
Yeah.
By the way, apologies to our British listeners.
Yeah, we don't think you're evil at all.
We know that you're not space villains.
Yes, we love your portrayals in Star Wars.
Yeah. So
and the fact that you have Lucasfilm in your backyard, and we,
yep,
I guess kind of do, but it's all the way in California.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a big backyard.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But going back to John Boyega, I think the reason, I don't know, one of my theories is they gave him an American accent to immediately contrast with the fact that he was a stormtrooper.
Yes.
And so they wanted to separate him from the other British space villains.
Yeah.
By making him, by signaling that he is a good, virtuous guy, by making him American accented.
Something like that. I don't know what the motivation was. I was thinking maybe it was because like they're programmed from birth. They're basically stolen from their home.
Okay.
So the stormtroopers aren't part of like the leadership of the
okay,
of the First Order.
So they're born into like a caste or like a class, like the
Something.
upper crust type, like the neatly pressed uniform guys all went to Oxford or whatever.
Yeah.
On Coruscant, whatever that's called.
Yeah.
And then the grunts who are, you know, out there fighting the battles are just from wherever they kidnapped them from.
Right. That's the best guess I got. We're far away from Visions now, though.
This is a Star Wars podcast.
Well, it still is. We're still talking Star Wars in this case. How many times have we said that on this one?
I don't know.
All right. Well, we've been talking a while, but we would be remiss because we have talked about every episode now except for The Village Bride.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about that one because that one is also pretty high on my list.
Yep.
And I know it's high on a lot of people's lists.
Yep.
And I understand why. And this one was very different for me. Mm-hmm. Like, especially following the twins, which was like jam-packed with all this action and over the topness. Like, this one decides, let's take a seat for a second and let's talk about nature and kind of connect with, you know, the beauty of this planet. And the interesting part about that was like, as this people are doing, like you are being shown the costs of war in this episode and how it affects a small village that is just living a quiet life. And that was really cool to see. It was beautiful. Just that idea that there are all these innocent bystanders. We talked about Last Jedi did that a bit with Canto Bite,
Yeah.
right, and the father years and stuff.
Yeah.
So, that to me was what made this one really special. The other thing too was F, and F is the fugitive Jedi after Order 66 in the Clone Wars that is kind of in hiding and observing kind of what's happened from the Clone Wars to these people that she was supposed to be saving, and fell under separatist control at one point and never really got relinquished from it. And she has to kind of make a decision. What is she going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, but again, it just felt very much like connected with nature, the planet. I don't know. It was really, really unique.
You know what I thought of with that? Because you're right. It does start out really slowly, and it kind of works its way into it. And even like the stuff of like, he's carrying her around and it's just like labored step after step. Like it's just the pacing was very different.
Yeah.
I thought back to when you told me that one of the reasons that Yoda chose Dagobah, and I can't remember where you got this from, was because it was so rich with life. And even though it doesn't look hospitable, it was habitated. There was all different types of flora and fauna, I guess you could say. And so that it was really just rich with the Force.
Right. Yep.
And so that's what I thought about when towards the beginning of this episode, we were seeing the forest or the jungle or whatever, and it was sort of evolving over time and things like that. Like I thought it was the Force on display through nature, which is, I guess, something that makes sense that you experience it kind of quietly and deliberately.
Right.
Like it doesn't just come up and like poke you. It's like you kind of have to ritually like work your way up to that. So I thought that made sense. But yeah, by the end of the episode, there is all that action and all that excitement, and you do see the price of war and so on. But that pacing, I think, threw some people off in the beginning.
Yeah, it did, but it was a beautiful story that they told in the end too. So a lot of people liked it because of F and because of the sacrifice that the bride was willing to make for her village, and her sister that was didn't feel like that was justified, wanted to rebel, and it was and to see F kind of swoop in and save the day and be what a Jedi should be, kind of going around and using, as the elder said, using their power to protect those without it.
Yep.
So very, very well interlinked. There are a lot of great themes like that, valuable lessons to take away too. And that's another thing I loved.
Yeah.
Let's let's end on this note. Top 3, 3, 2, 1. What were your top 3 episodes?
So really tough. I don't think I could.
You don't have to pick an order if you don't want.
Yeah, I don't think I could pick them and have them stay the same over time. Like a year from now, it might be evolving. But 3 that are up there: The Duel.
Yep.
The Elder.
Okay.
Was it the 9 Jedi or the 9th Jedi?
The 9th Jedi.
The 9th Jedi.
Which was Kara. Yeah.
Yep. I think those are my 3.
We have 2 of the same, which is great. Number 3 on my list is La Pinocho.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, The Duel. Number 1, The 9th Jedi. There you have it.
Very cool.
We are creatures of habit. No, what do we call that? Birds of a feather flock together.
Yes, nerds of a feather.
There you go.
But you know what? Because of our friend Keith from Father and Son Galaxy, TOB1 gets an honorable mention for me.
Oh gosh. I mean, again, it doesn't go. It's really tough to rank these because there's the perception that this one's the worst, this one's the best. That's not the point of rankings.
Yeah.
The point of rankings is just a fun way to try to say, like, here's what I love. Here's what was unique to me.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about rankings is that they're unique to everyone. It doesn't have to be like best to worst. It's just like more.
People forget that.
To these.
People forget that, and they say, "How dare you come up with the definitive list that I should live by?" And it's like nobody said that.
Nobody said that either. Yeah, this is just a person. That's the fun part about it is like they are unique, and so you get to talk about, well, why did that one get to the top for you? And most of the time they're like, my bottom one isn't bad. It's just
right.
There are aspects of this one I loved more. So
that's a good point. Nothing here was bad.
No,
nothing.
I mean, there were ones, like I said, Tatooine Rhapsody didn't hit me that hard the first time. Watched it again. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it completely changed my opinion of it. Akakiri was like, okay, not as eventful, not as cool. Watched it again. Huh, that is deep. You know? So it's like, how do you pick a favorite? You can't, because like you said, a year from now, you're going to go watch it again and you're going to pull out something completely different.
Yep.
And love it for a completely different reason.
Oh yeah. I can see myself revisiting these over time.
I will too. I definitely will be. Speaking of which, I want to revisit some of the like Clone Wars. I haven't done that in a while.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Let's wrap up. What do you say?
Yeah, let's bring it home. I'll begin with a little bit of gratitude, or a lot of gratitude, for everybody who's been listening recently and sending us nice comments and sending us emails. So a very special shout out to our friend Publicly Shamed.
Yep.
On the YouTubes. Thank you as always for listening, for commenting, and for sending us nice emails. And we owe Publicly Shamed a couple of responses, because he sent us some really good prompts and questions that we have to address in an upcoming episode.
Might influence us, yeah. Rural Farm Boy.
Yes, Rural Farm Boy. Out on the Twitterverse.
Mm-hmm.
Rural Farm Boy, who has been a listener since the beginning and is always very kindly retweeting our stuff. And so we thank you, sir. We tip our hats to you. And if you haven't already, go check out our most recent episode with Keith and Kerwin of Father and Son. A terrific Star Wars podcast, and a really good one, by the way, if you're one of those folks who has a kid and you want to enjoy a Star Wars podcast with your kid. And there's a lot of Star Wars podcasts out there with language and stuff like that. And this is a good one. This one is one that you can all enjoy together.
Not that those other ones are bad either. It's just
no. I mean, it's just a matter of, finding something that works for you and the situation.
Have your kids there. Yeah.
And I also wanted to give a special shout out to our bro host, Chris Rhines.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Glad you did.
For all he does for the show. He spends a lot of time helping us get our episodes up on YouTube and creating some really cool artwork for us. And we have an ongoing chat with Chris about the stuff that we're doing for our High Republic comic series and stuff like that. And he's just a terrific guy who is always there to help us out and help raise our spirits and keep the show front and center in a lot of different Broaxium media. So please go to the Broaxium YouTube channel, subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. Like the videos, enjoy it. There's a lot of great content on there. But even if we don't know your name, even if we haven't exchanged emails or whatever, and you're listening, know that we appreciate it. It really means a lot to us. So thanks a million.
Can't add any more to that. That's
it. There's nobody else to thank.
There's a ton more people to thank. And honestly, if we haven't heard from you, and you've been with us for a long time, we would love to hear from you. So please reach out. Please reach out to us on Twitter. You can direct message us, or you can just send us a nice tweet. You can email us at thestarboroughspodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. Where else can you find us, Jan? Everywhere you can find your podcasts.
At any cheesesteak place channel. On a Saturday afternoon.
Where's that?
At any cheesesteak place.
That's what you see. Yeah, that's right. I don't eat cheesesteaks that often. I'm pretty sure you don't either.
I don't, but I think about them all the time.
You're just like, cheesesteaks. You're like TOB1, but...
Yes, but with Philadelphia food stuff.
That's it. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. It's been great. This is, can't say it enough. Go watch Visions. You'll enjoy it.
It's awesome.
There's a story for everyone there, and that's what's really cool about it. Find the one that you love the most, and just, grab hold of it and don't let go, like our buddy Keith. And I think that's the lesson to learn from this. With that, what else do we got? Anything?
I think there's one more thing.
It's my turn?
I think it's your turn.
It's my turn. It's a wrap!